Good morning, everybody. Pierre Quinn here. Thanks for joining me for another edition of Courageous Conversations Live. I am here with my good friend, Chris Bartley. Man, Chris, we work together in so many different capacities, man, but thanks for joining me for a courageous conversation today.
Man, it's a pleasure. I made it. Mama, we made it.
So you're hanging out with us on Facebook. You're hanging out with us on LinkedIn Live or even YouTube. We see Patrick Graham checking in, Curls of a CPA, hanging out with us. Yeah, and in today's Courageous Conversation Live with Chris Bartley, we're going to talk about the power of being able to sketch a strategy. Here's what we know, especially going into 2021. All of us need a strategy. All of us need a strategy and an ability to pivot that strategy when necessary. And so many of us are floundering right now. You are floundering right now because you have all of these ideas, but you have zero strategy. So a good friend, Chris Bartley, is going to talk to us about that today. So Chris, tell everybody who's hanging out with us on Courageous Conversations a little bit about the work that you do.
So it's a mixture of a few things. And I think that that's why this whole sketch a strategy idea came into being. User experience, branding, storytelling, which is really part of branding, and marketing, and a little bit of leadership, business. It's an amalgamation of disciplines. I'm not going to say stuff, disciplines, So sketching has allowed me to take all of those things. And I think the key ingredient is, well, maybe two things: getting out of my own head. So it works by listening, connecting with other people, and then actively listening. So it's one thing to sketch for yourself. It's another thing to listen to someone else's problem or their challenge or what they're trying to sort through. And literally, guys, I'm not even drawing pictures. Most of the time it's a word and an arrow pointing to, so it's really more like mind mapping, if anything. And so, but yeah, that's what I do. It's just, and I should say, and it's all deployed in healthcare. So there are a few different areas that I work, that I'm working this in, but having all of those skill sets, you got to put it towards something. So for me, healthcare is one side, and then personal development through the Antihero Clinic is another.
So, Chris, let's walk through a session, like a strategy session, just really quick, as it relates to looking at what's going on in someone's life.
Yeah.
How do we put a strategy together around that? So let's pick a scenario. Let's say,
oh man, you're on the spot. Oh man.
Yeah, let's do this, because this is the work that you do. We're in the middle of COVID. Let's say I am a senior director or a C-suite executive, and my staff has been, because of COVID, we've had budget cuts and we've had to downsize. And now the only thing that I've been thinking about for the last month or so, and it's really challenged my productivity, is how are we going to get all of this work done with less staff, with less resources? How are we going to make it happen? And this is the thing that's been, crippling or paralyzing me. Right. How can I effectively use the concept of sketching a strategy to reduce my anxiety and then take sort of the next step? Okay. You know what, Chris, before you do that, I gotta talk to you about how this conversation, this courageous conversation, is actually sponsored by the Next Step Summit, November 24th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We're bringing together executives, creatives, entrepreneurs, and leaders from all walks of life like you to really wrestle with all the stuff that we're dealing with today and strategize around how we can take the next step forward. So we're going to play this quick commercial, and then we're going to come back with this sketch of strategy with Chris Bartley. Make sure you join us for the next step
Hey.
summit. prccoin.com/next step.
Can
So,
I say,
yeah.
man, that commercial, listen, sir, you are, listen, I already signed up. If you have not signed up, y'all need to go ahead and do it, especially because I've been a part of it before. Y'all just
Next
need
step
to go
one.
ahead. Yeah. It is transformational. It is transformational. Hey, yep. Julian said it. The commercial was amazing, man. So okay. All right. So
shout out to Kirk Nugent Composition LLC.
Yeah. See,
So hey Chris, real quick before you dive into that, I want to take Natasha's question on LinkedIn, and she asked, can this be used for leadership training and improvement for staff / team? This idea of being able to sketch a strategy. So wrestle with that question and then jump into the framework that you're going to teach us.
Absolutely. So the idea, once again, is it's really sketching is a discipline. There's a book that is written by Dan Roam, ROAM, called Unfolding the Napkin, and it's the hands-on method for complex problems with simple pictures. Now, I'd show it, but I think it might make my camera look kind of weird. But it's an orange. Let me see if I can do it properly. So that's what it looks like. And it's just a discipline. It's just a tool. So this tool can work in any industry. So answering Pierre's question, here's the first thing. Before doing this, some people would call me, and I call myself a strategist, right? When the imposter syndrome took over heavily, I would feel like the thing that you just asked me about downsizing and how do we now, maximize the amount of employees that we have based on the work, because the workload really hasn't dropped. It's just we can't really manage the workforce that we have with the resources that's available. I'd pee in my pants. Let's just call it what it is and be like, oh my gosh, I don't have the answer. I don't know what to do. Guys, the first thing is I'd research it. This is what I do right now as we're speaking, Pierre. The first few things that came to my mind is restructuring. And that's from like management consulting, thinking about frameworks and literally looking at other case studies and trying to understand it's already happened before. This problem has already existed. So if we're doing like an in-depth, very particular type of challenge like that, I do my homework, and I might even do it live. If you want, we can do a little bit live right now. We can kind of just work this out and figuring out how does a downsized company be able to take the small group that they now have to try to make it work. So guys, I'd literally just go on Google right now, and we would put in restructuring, downsizing, and it's already up there. And I look here, Pierre, and I see downsizing is usually the best way that a company can take in order to fight inefficiency and low productivity. So now I'm going to be looking at organizational restructuring. So Taylor and Francis Online has an abstract that talks about how hospitals have radically restructured their operations while significantly downsizing their workforces. So I'm saying all of this to say that I would do the necessary work that would create some sort of loose framework. And then let's see, let me go ahead and if you're going to allow me to, I'm going to share my screen here.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, while you're building up to share your screen, why is it important for us to look at other frameworks, resources, ideas that are out there? Like this is a personal problem. This is my job. This is, our company. Why? And these are my thoughts and feelings. Why should I look at other frameworks or situations or resources out there even before kind of diving into what's going on with our organization?
Now, depending on who the client or the person is, I may say it nonchalantly or might say it lovingly. Ain't nothing new. Your problem is not so uniquely special. And I add the redundance because that's what we think. You're like, oh, there's nobody else. No, it has happened before in some way or in some fashion. And if it hasn't happened exactly the way that it has in your case, then there is a similar scenario that would allow us to generate some new ideas or ways to kind of connect what happened in that particular situation and then what can happen in yours and how we can solve that problem.
Yeah, so, we're gonna get ready to share on the screen what you have. As you're listening to this, hop in the comment section, talk about if you're open, if you're willing to it, drop in the comment section maybe a work related challenge or a life related challenge that you've had in the past 6 months or so. We want to test out Chris's theory that, you are unique, but your situation probably isn't that unique. So if there's a work related challenge, and you can be as generic as you need to be in this conversation, but drop it in the comments, and we want to see how many other people resonate with some of the challenges personally and professionally that you've been dealing with. So I'm gonna pull this up.
Okay, cool. So let me actually switch over, and if anything kind of goes frozen, just let me know, please. So
Yeah.
so we're talking about downsizing. Let me and you already know my handwriting is disgusting, but
It's real medical doctorish, so we're good.
it's terrible. It looks like Don's song. So okay, here's the first thing, right? You already said XYZ has happened, and now I have to cut people. I've already categorized what this is. You are in the process of downsizing. So now, if we look at what that is, and we looked at the case studies, most likely. And if I do more of this, I would actually know and understand the terminology. But that's the beauty of being the person that I am. I love to research this stuff. So sometimes, or not even sometimes, but most of the times, I'll do the homework so that by the time I show up in the office, or, we show up and we do this thing live, I'm telling you, oh, it's an organizational restructuring issue. Right. So now we've taken what your problem was, which seems like it's unique, and we've narrowed it down to, or at least put it in the bucket of restructuring. So what are the ways that people restructure, especially when it comes to downsizing? I would then do the work. So I don't want to take up too much time here, but let's look at ways to downsize. And this is how I do this. Do this live. Oh, somebody said downsize your life. Now you don't want to downsize your life. Downsize a company. So let me go to that one.
That's a different courageous conversation.
Right. So I'm just easily looking at this right now. Here's the first one. The first one talks about being transparent. So you might say, but that has nothing to do with money. Oh, we're going to get there. Another one is easing the fears and establishing new goals and new responsibilities. Okay. So this might be a little bit more operational now, right? If we're wanting to talk about business, but I'm going to connect these two. Here's another one. Have a vision and a plan. There's a difference between vision and goals, guys.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Focus on the important stuff. I just talked about this morning. Prioritizing. If you're going to downsize, you got to prioritize. And then give back and make sacrifices for your employees. You cutting people out, you better give something. And here's the last one. Be empathetic. Empathy.
So Chris, let me stop you right here as you're drawing this out. And this is Courageous Conversations. We're talking about how to sketch a strategy with Chris Bartley. Taking an idea or concept in my head, an overwhelming situation, and feel free to drop it in the comments, some work-related challenge or difficulty that you've had over the past 6 months. Or it could be even personal challenge that I think this strategy works for either one.
Yeah.
Chris, simply by taking this out of my head and putting it on paper, it helps me reduce cognitive distortion. Because, with cognitive distortion, we say everything is bad or everything, woe is me. But now as you give me a visual for this hypothetical situation, now change, momentum, creativity seems doable because it's out of my head and now it's on paper. What's the value of concretizing or even memorializing on paper, even some of the crazy thoughts that we have in our head before you go back to this strategy? So
if you're like me, you can think something to death. We call it analysis paralysis, right?
Yeah.
And when you translate the ethereal, abstract ideas, because that's really what they are until you can actually see them, then what's happening is all of those ideas are overlapping each other, interlacing within each other. And your mind, even though it's amazing and it's beautiful and it can process those things, it's like in a soup. It's like this huge, big gumbo soup that just has everything that's in there, and your mind can juggle, but You don't want to, when you're trying to strategize, juggle all of these thoughts. You want to be able to start taking them out and parsing them. So I envy the people who might have the ability to compartmentalize. They compartmentalize their feelings. They, and so and some people say that women do that better than men. Where something is happening, choop, they put that on the shelf and they move to something else. That's not what this is. What you're doing is you're taking everything that's on the shelf and compartmentalizing them, but in front of you, if that makes sense. So you're not compartmentalizing to delay or to avoid the issue. You are actually taking all of the issues and then you're putting them in their own categories, putting them in their own framework so that you can then say, okay, this is probably the place that I need to focus or prioritize. This probably isn't as important as I thought it was. So you're able to now take look at the forest instead of the trees. If you're like me, you don't even look at the trees. You look at the leaf. You look at the vein on the leaf. It can get crazy. So what you do is write all of that stuff out. And the larger that you go and then kind of zoom into the details, you can kind of start chipping away at the things that really need to be focused on versus the stuff that it's inconsequential. So looking at this framework right here, we just now realized, you think about downsizing, you immediately think about money. But I just looked at a simple framework that has nothing to do with money just yet. As a matter of fact, the majority of it is dealing with your employees. You need to empathize with them. There's something that you need to provide for them where they can understand we just cut like half our staff. So you better give something to them so that they can still gain the trust. You won't make any money with the half that you have if there isn't that level of, and I'll use the word again, trust to know, am I next? Like, I don't know. They need to know that you are there for a reason, for a purpose. It wasn't just a random act, random selection. But here's the other thing too, though, when we're looking at goals versus vision. So I'm now looking at the components, and guys, this is so superficial. Like if this was, another level, we go even deeper. But there are a lot of people, they choose to downsize, but they aren't transparent with the process. So your issue is not going to be a money issue yet. We've just looked at 6 components that have everything to do with people.
Yeah.
So that's how I would start this thing out. And then we would literally, Pierre, we would go through each one. Okay, transparency. How do I need to be transparent in this process? If I haven't downsized yet, what do I need to do? What kind of email do I need to send out? Do I need to do one-on-ones? Like, that's and good. That's just part of the process. So
I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna stop you there, Chris. All of this, especially this transparent piece, and I know Natasha talked about feeling and staying connected and focused, getting the team focused during COVID with no face-to-face meetings. And I want to argue that what Chris just shared is a way of getting a strategy around those things. So
absolutely.
What I want to be able to do right now is play a commercial related to courageous conversations that we all need to have, and we'll be back in about 60 seconds.
Everyone, I'm Candace Dobie, speaker, author, and courage coach, and I am so excited to be participating in the upcoming Courage Activated Summit on November 24th. I can't wait to talk to emerging leaders and young leaders like yourself about how to take more worthwhile risks at work. There's a lot you want to do, right? You want to have hard conversations with your teammates about company culture. You want to ask for a raise during a pandemic. You want to be able to settle into your new position with confidence. And all of this comes with risk. And so what we're going to do during this summit is we're going to talk about those risks. We're going to talk about the negative potential outcomes that could come from taking action. And how do you really evaluate those to know when you're ready to take the risk? So join me, register for the conference. There's going to be lots of great information about courage and risk taking and moving forward in your profession. So let's go.
That was Candace Dobie, one of our featured interviews for the Next Step Summit on November 24th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., prccoin.com/next step. And as we talk about sketching a strategy with Chris Bartley, it's going to take courage. It's even if it's your company is not downsizing, and we use the scenario that Natasha put up. We're not downsizing people, but our communication has been downsized. Yeah, our face-to-face communication has been downsized. Right. So how do we work through that particular strategy of remaining connected? And I think, as Sable says, I feel that too, Natasha. So as you said before, that you're unique, but your your situation is not that unique. Now, Chris, there are some people who are saying, okay, man, you know, you're wired for that. You're analytical like that. You know, you've been doing it so long. I don't know if I can, in a simplified way, take some time and actually sketch out a strategy. I can't even draw. That's what, you know, some people are saying. What encouragement would you have for individuals to, you know, to embrace this particular process of, you know, visually depicting what's going on with them personally or professionally, and then building a plan around that?
So let me share that I can't even draw either. And I've been through art school and art classes, and listen, words and lines. Honestly, just start there. You just want to be able to map out what the problems are, what the issues are. Think of like a bullet journal, because some of you say I can't even draw, but you doodle. So don't even call it drawing or sketching. Just call it doodling, right? And what I would suggest is,
Begin to prioritize what are the most important things that you can do right now. So we had some audio challenges, we've had some video challenges, we've had some technical challenges, and that happens sometimes as it relates to even being courageous. So we thank you for sticking with us for this courageous conversation. We're going to get Chris back real soon to continue this conversation. But again, I want to challenge you. Take some time today, even over your lunch break, grab a sheet of paper, and some of the biggest challenges you're facing right now, write them down, and then begin to work through, put the ideas on paper of what you need to be able to work through those challenges. And you will find in many cases, when you take the time to actually think and not just be in our feelings, we're human, so we're going to be in our feelings. But if we take the time to process, to write down, to walk through, to strategize, even if you can't draw, you'll see just how differently you'll view your particular situation. So, Chris, man, I need you to wrap this up, man. I tried to do my best to wrap up your closing thought, but it's not mine. It's yours.
No, so sorry about that. I don't know what happened. So a few things there, just like your problems aren't unique, there are also frameworks out there as well. So for instance, so in management consulting, we talk about the top consulting groups like McKinsey and Company, Boston Consulting Group, Bain. They have their own frameworks too. I encourage you, take a look at McKinsey's. I think it's like a 7-stage process or a framework. And all you need to do is take a look at that. Now, obviously, you won't be McKinsey status, but that's not the point. The point is you want to have a starting a base so that you can just say, okay, this is where I am and this is where I need to end up being. It's really just creating a simple roadmap. Don't try to create your own. That's the first thing. Here's the second thing that helped me out, Pierre. Doing it live keeps it simple. Like just the way that I did it with you. Yeah. Like I had, if you're like me, you're going to overanalyze, research deeply. We don't have time for that. We got like 2 minutes left, not even on this conversation. So I need to learn how to keep it simple. So how you do that is maybe you connect with somebody else and you share that idea with someone else because their time is just as valuable as yours. 5 minutes. Have them ask you, so what's the issue? How are you going to solve it? And you sit down with literally just a pen, pencil, sheet of paper, and you just start drawing the sucker out. Like that's really all it takes. So for me, going live keeps it simple. And that's really because I'm connecting with other people. So it's like, man, you can't go in depth. You don't even have the terminology sometimes. That's okay. Just communicate it. The other thing is your problem isn't as unique as you think it is. Now, if you're a creator, you take all of the ununique problems and create a new paradigm, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about something that has already happened. And then the third one is they're all already frameworks for problem solving that are out there. And once you get good enough, you have an amalgamation of your own. And that's really what it is for me, you know? So I think that that would be helpful for those who are kind of fearful of doodling or sketching or just even trying to frame out a problem visually.
You know, I got a friend of mine, Joseph Michelli, who was going to hang out with us for the Next Step Summit on November 24th. And he's been spending the last several months talking about at a higher level, which you've been sharing with us. He's been talking to CEOs of the top companies in the country about how they've been dealing with this very thing, how they've been working through difficult situations. So as Chris said, you might not be at the Bain and Company, the McKinsey and Company, the Boston Consulting level of strategy and planning, but you can do it on the level that you're at. And I guarantee you that if you do it, you'll come out much stronger on the other side. Got to give you this last commercial break from Joseph Michelli, inviting you to join us for the Next Step Summit, and then we'll be back to wrap up this conversation.
Hello, I'm Joseph Michelli, and as we get ready for what will likely be the most disrupted holiday season of our time, I'll be sharing insights on resilience, actionable wisdom that comes from recent conversations and work with remarkable leaders like Brian Cornell, CEO of Target, Jeff Daly, CEO of Farmers Insurance, Michelle Gass, CEO of Kohl's, and Hans Vestberg, CEO of Verizon. Please sign up now for Pierre Quinn's Next Step Summit titled Courage Activated, November 24th, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time, as I join an incredible lineup of inspirational and transformational presenters so that you can emerge from 2020 stronger through adversity.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about this event. We have a credible incredible lineup of presenters who are going to share with us. And I know there's going to be a lot of sketching. There's going to be a lot of sketching going on through that experience. So, man, Chris, thanks for hanging out with us for another courageous conversation. If people want to better connect with you, maybe they want a strategy session, a sketch session for their business, for their staff, even for some personal goals, maybe as an entrepreneur that they're trying to work through, what's the best way to connect with you?
Shoot me an email, chris@bartley.group, GROUP, and we can rock it out.
chris@bartley.group. Yeah. So reach out to Chris. He'll walk you through. Maybe this is something that you're looking to do with your team and for your team, and you need some training on just how to develop a sketch a strategy session, or you're like, nah, I don't even want to mess with the whiteboard and the markers and digital stuff. I want Chris to mediate, to navigate the process with us, to take us through a strategy. So either way, reach out to Chris, and he'll be sure to connect with you. Chris, thanks for hanging out, man. Until next time, y'all be safe. Take care.